The charcoal black devastated look of the road was, I had never seen something like that before.
And fires were controllable back then. You can predict the fire. 20-year fires, 10-year fires. They know where the fires are going to be before. But now there's no prediction. You can't predict the weather anymore. Look at the weather, what's happening. As we were driving around in Dory Lake there, that one down, all that soot is coming in from the trees and all the, because it burns right to the sand. I've never seen a fire that hot before. Usually the fire will be rolling on top. Now it's rolling to the bottom. Even the water is starting to catch on fire. People are saying, look at that water, it's on fire. The next generation, they don't have no water because we're not saving anything for them. We're going to leave something for them. Right now the way it's going, the way they're logging, it's like a big wall of logs. And that's only one road. There's thousands of roads in the bush right now like that.
It's a major economic driver for clear-cut. I'm not a fan of clear-cut logging diamond on the edge of some of those roadheads. Particularly the lawyer from Baltimore said to me, "Oh well, George, they're only cutting 65 hectares at a time." Well, I couldn't convert in my head. 65 hectares is the same as 160 acres. I've been out in the middle of 160 acres of farmland in open country with a thunderstorm coming and rain coming on my head and opening it home.
They don't need the land like the way they approach it. They scour the land, the animals can't even walk on there. Those guys are logging as fast as they can. They don't care about anybody or any animals. Animals don't have any more rights.
When you replant trees, it's monoculture, whereas a natural forest is diverse.
My personal belief is creating relationships with people. I believe that everybody should have relationships with nature. In the course of living in Rose, Saskatchewan, I have seen an increase of forest fires over the time. In the last, I would say 5 to 7 years, we haven't had a single one. We haven't been underwater to watch. Is this nature's course? Is it every 100 years that we're going through, or a rebirth? I think when we start to talk about the effects that are occurring at our bodies, they're increasing, and the people who are most being affected are people in different socioeconomic places in their lives. We are still dealing with since 2018. We had been evacuated in 2019, but we've since been evacuated 2 or 3 times. We've had times where we've evacuated just based on the quality, even though we weren't in range, we were still affected. Saskatchewan, Calgary areas were still affected. Land areas were affected by of smoke from just our practices and our relationships and everything. And of course, like we
I think of the boreal forest. I think about the connection to the land that my family and I have here. When I think of the forest, I think about all the different biomes that are present, all the different animals that live there, making their home, the birds that you find, and the trails, and all the different woodland creatures. In 2015, we were also evacuated from Lacange, where there was a fire that was threatening the community at the time. Just recently, June 2nd of 2025, there was a fire that was threatening the community, and it seemed to be a cycle. I know lots of research says that fire is a germinating factor in the boreal forest. He will activate different seeds that will grow after it cracks like acorns. cycle continue. But in terms of the severity of the wildfires, on June 2nd, when we were evacuated, my family and I had left knowing what it looked like before, and then coming back up afterwards was really difficult. The charcoal black, devastated look of the road was bleak, but very quickly after, you saw green and other pieces of nature pushing itself back through after you wouldn't expect it, and how fascinating the cycle that is. See the land recovering.
As an educator, I think there needs to be more awareness and education programming that whether they're rural kids, whether they're urban kids, I think all kids deserve to know the effects that certain stages of development are having on parts of our land, certain practices in agriculture, practices in our mining and our other industry.
Yeah, we have to protect what we have, as one. Because we get a better voice. What can we say when we're just by ourselves? We have to, the whole town and the whole north have to get together because they don't have no voice. They don't listen to you. The big companies or the big dollars will shut you up.
They come in and they take all the resources.
We have to sit together with them. They have plans already, 30-year plans.
For maybe 2 hours, 3 hours.
How come we can have a say? They're cutting close to the water. They don't even have any buffer zones anymore.
You're consulting us by informing us and not giving us a say at all.
It seems like nobody cares anymore. In our area, the native people care, but they don't have a voice. Somebody from the south to start helping us. I want to see buffer zones close to the lakes, at least a mile or 2 miles.
They're taking and we should have had so much more in our northern communities. We're surrounded by mines, we're surrounded by logging companies, and they're not giving back to our communities.
I have to send a giant shout out to the courage of the individuals that stayed behind and protected La Ronge and our surrounding communities. The regrowth is starting.